I just know that I'm going to piss someone off with this video because whenever anyone speaks about their opinion on their consoles and it doesn't paint what system the reader or the viewer uses in a good light for some reason, those people feel the need to defend their choice and then proceed to shame anyone who doesn't buy what they are buying. It's kind of old at this point and a cliche. I can't stop people from being toxic in the comments, so I just want to start with this. This video is an assessment of value. Value to a certain degree is subjective. Some people value different things more than others, thus changing their view of value on a certain product. With this in mind though, I will be taking a look at the value proposition from both of these consoles from various viewpoints. I come from a large gaming background and have owned a Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, Wii, Nintendo DS, and I currently play on PC, and I don't believe that I have any outward bias toward any particular gaming platform. With that being said, let's get into the video. Before I forget though, if you end up watching the entire video and enjoy the content, please leave a like and share the video with a friend. It really helps me out hitting those feeds as well. If you guys want to see more content from me, feel free to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 500 subscribers a little while ago, which is a huge milestone, and I would love for more of you guys to join this journey that we are on. Now that I'm done blabbering, let's get into the video. When I usually make a video, I find a topic that I want to talk about it, record it, edit through the clips, and put it together to make a video. But this one I knew had to be different. It had to come from a very nuanced perspective, because believe it or not, this is a very important decision to a good amount of people, mainly people below the age of 20, but still an important decision nonetheless. For the first time in a long time, we as a gaming community are cohesively moving to the next generation. Higher end PC tech is finally making its way to the console market. With this tech, devs are now able to do things that they were not previously able to do. New games are going to push the limit of what we can expect from a game. So for most people, investing in the platform that is going to give them the best experience is going to be a must. This is where the concept of value comes in. Like I stated before, statistically most of the people who buy gaming consoles are under the age of 20, and if you are under the age of 20, cash is usually something that isn't going to be as abundant as if you were a mature adult. So value is going to be a fairly large factor in your decision on which console you are going to end up buying. But there are a few trump cards when it comes to value, so I want to get these out of the way first. Number one, you should be picking the platform that your friends are on. Video games are the best when playing with friends, and this was the reason that I made Xbox for so long. All of my friends and most of the kids in my area played on Xbox, so it didn't make much sense for me to alienate myself from them by getting a PlayStation. The second one is going to be familiarity. Some people have been on a certain platform for their entire lives and have grown accustomed to the product, and having the other just wouldn't make any sense. Maybe the other has some exclusives that you want to play, or it has more power, but because it's a brand that you have been with for a long time, you like the way the system interface is set up, and you trust the company backing the product, it makes sense to overlook those downsides. Both of those are very valid reasons to why someone can't just jump over the value argument. But for those of you who don't have a preference to a certain system and might have friends on every platform or are relying on crossplay, the rest of this video is for you. Now, I just mentioned crossplay, so let's talk about that a bit more. Crossplay is becoming something more and more prevalent in our multiplayer games today. Usually the more popular multiplayer games have this feature, while less popular games, or games that are tied to a certain function of the platform, for instance CSGO and it really only being able to be played on keyboard or mouse, are locked to a certain platform. Crossplay for the most part isn't restricted to one platform. PC, Xbox, and PS4 have all, for the most part, equal access to crossplay in games, but where they differ is experience. This is going to be a very nitpicky point, but I think it's a point worth mentioning nonetheless. Let's take a look at a certain scenario. You and the boys want to run some multiplayer in the latest COD. You have one guy playing on PC, two guys on Xbox, and one guy on PlayStation, and you all want to be able to communicate. So for the easiest solution, you go into game chat. You guys are really having a conversation and making callouts, but some other person decides to chime in and ruin your conversation with some screeching. Now everyone in the group has to mute this man and every other gamer, so some person looking to have some fun will interrupt your conversations with a demeaning phrase or go with the El Clasico of making noises for the sake of noise. Now you all can't just hop into a party chat because Xbox Live and PlayStation Network don't communicate with each other. Someone is going to be cut out, and more times than not, it's going to be the PlayStation guy. The reason for this this is even though the other guy is on PC, every Windows 10 machine comes pre-installed with the Xbox app, which lets you sign into your Xbox Live account and get access to all of the social features a normal Xbox console has. If one of your friends is online and sees that you're playing Minecraft, they can just shoot you a party and a game invite, and it all works like you're on an Xbox. For the PlayStation guy to be kept involved, he is going to have to either download the Xbox app on his phone and make an account, or everyone is going to have to make a Discord account, the easiest of which is just having the guy installing the Xbox app. Now let's flip the roles. Maybe there was just one Xbox guy and 3 PlayStation guys. Either all of them are going to download Discord, or just 3 of the PlayStation guys need to download the Xbox app. So in terms of the social aspect of the consoles, I do think Xbox wins out, because no matter who you end up playing with, Xbox is usually going to be the most widely available party chat interface among your friend group and their devices. Now let's move on to hardware. The Xbox Series X is launching for an MSRP of $500, and the PS5 is also launching at the same price point. A $500 PS5 is going to give you a Blu-ray disc player. The CPU will have 8 cores with SMT enabled. It is going to be clocked at 3.5 GHz. The GPU will have 36 CUs and will be clocked at 2.23 GHz. It will have 16 GB of GDDR6 with a 256-bit bus and a custom PCIe Gen 4 SSD with 825 GB of storage. In contrast, the Xbox Series X is also going to have a Blu-ray disc player, a CPU with 8 cores and with SMT enabled, clocked at 3.8 GHz, a GPU with 52 CUs at 1.825 GHz. It will have 16 GB of GDDR6 with a 320-bit bus and a PCIe Gen 4 SSD with 1 TB of storage. Something that I would like to add is the custom PS5 SSD is supposedly going to have extremely fast load times. I do think that it is going to be faster than the Xbox One, but I would say that the load times on both consoles are going to be a game dependent feature, and if the software devs made the game with a certain console storage solution in mind. As well, both of the systems have a way to upgrade the high-speed SSDs within their system via a proprietary port on the back of the Xbox in a M.2 slot on the PS5. In terms of the spec to spec comparison, the Xbox slightly edges out the PS5, touting a better GPU, a slightly larger memory bus, a higher clocked CPU, and 175 extra gigabytes of storage. Now I'm going to get pretty technical here, but I do want to talk about their GPUs. As of the time I am writing this script, we don't have any hard numbers on the performance of AMD's RDNA 2 GPU architecture. With that said, the 2 GPUs, while being on the same architecture, are completely different. Microsoft opted to get a GPU with a high CU count, but to keep the chip stable and within power requirements, they have to clock it at around 1.8 GHz, which is not slow whatsoever for a GPU like this. Usually the more cores a GPU has, the lower clock speeds need to be, but you are still going to get a bump in performance with the more cores. So most people can and will assume the Xbox GPU is going to blow the PS5's GPU out of the water in terms of performance. While I don't think that this is the case, I do think the Xbox will have slightly higher performance. The reason I think that it is not going to blow the PS5 GPU out of the water is for a couple of reasons. From what I have been hearing about the new RDNA 2 GPUs, the IPC, or the instructions per clock, have been raised a good bit. If this is the case, the much higher clock speeds of the PS5 GPU is going to make it a very good performer. We could see clock speeds matter more with these GPUs than the actual core count if the IPC boost from the new generation is high enough. Now let's move on to design. When it comes to the looks, the Xbox Series X looks the best. This is honestly not a bias point. It will go with most living room setups, and it will look nice in almost any environment. The PS5, on the other hand, while I don't think it looks bad, I do think that the color choice isn't great, as well the size and shape are kind of off-putting. I think that they would have done much better just to have an all-black setup like they had in the past, rather than try to spice it up with the white, blue, and black theme. And yes, it does look like a Wi-Fi router. But one place the PS5 does win in terms of design is that you can orient it up, down, or on its side with almost no compromise to the cooling performance. As well, the stand is removable and is able to be put on either the bottom of the system or on the side that you want to lay it down on. The Xbox, on the other hand, is not going to have as efficient cooling while laying down. Standing up, I think it is going to have the best cooling system out of both the consoles, but laying down, it might have the worst. The entire idea of the cooler in the first place is to suck cold air from the bottom and expel hot air out the top. By laying it on its side, you are forcing the air to move horizontally, where the hot air and the cold air are being sucked in and blown out at the same level. This is way more inefficient than standing up because we all know hot air rises. To expand more on that idea, I would like to talk a bit more about the thermal solutions of both systems. The Xbox is using an axial fan to work with, or I guess depending on how you orient it, against convection, and the PS5 is using a blower style fan to suck in air from the sides and blow it out the back. I want to come out and say this before I say anything else. Both systems are going to be able to cool their processors effectively as long as they are kept within normal conditions. With that said, the Xbox Series X shouldn't have too many dust problems, and the same thing with the PS5. Though if any of them were to have dust problems, I would say it would most likely be the PS5 because of the blower style cooler that it has. I could get into all the details about why blower style coolers aren't the best in the long term, especially when it comes to a house that might have pets that shed, but again, I don't know all the details and intricacies of the cooling system in the PS5, so that could very well have been planned. As well, the fact that they added holes for users to vacuum out dust does imply that they have considered the impact of dust on their systems. Now, I know that this is going to be a point that people are going to kind of hound on in the comment section, is that the PS5 has liquid metal on their cooler. While this is kind of a cool added feature, it basically just kind of makes it on par with the Xbox vapor chamber. I don't think that any of them are really going to have a certain leg up on each other when it comes to their cooling solutions, because both of the chips were made around the cooling solutions of these systems. So it really doesn't matter which one has, I guess, a better fin stack or a better cooler, or who has the better thermal conductive paste. It doesn't really matter as long as they can cool the chips fine and in the long term. So now that we are kind of done with the nerdy stuff, let's get into games. This is a pretty one-sided match when it comes to games at release. The Xbox has close to no day one games that are going to be launched alongside with the new series of consoles, while the PS5 has a whole catalog of games that they have lined up in preparation for this launch. As well, the PS5 has a lot of exclusives, and if you are someone who loves those exclusives and you don't think that you could play without them, then the PS5 is probably going to be your best choice. But there is one thing that I think could sway some people's opinion. The Xbox Game Pass program has been getting a lot of attention in recent months. The sheer value of this monthly subscription service is unprecedented in the console space and even the gaming space as a whole. The Xbox Game Pass gives access to a heck of a lot of games, some even major releases like Destiny and Halo, while including the cost of Xbox Live, as well as access to Microsoft's new cloud gaming program, xCloud, and all of this costs $15 a month. And you can add that on to Xbox's new payment plan for their consoles, where you can choose to pay $25 a month for 2 years that give you your very own Xbox Series S and a 2-year subscription to the Xbox Game Pass. And if you want the Series X, you can pay $35 a month for the same deal. At the end of both of these 2-year periods, you will own the Xbox that you have been paying off, though you will have to resubscribe to Xbox Game Pass to get back all of those games that you have been playing. So in the most broad term of value, I think the Xbox is the winner, but I could very well see other people having different needs and wants in their console, which might make them choose the PS5. Whatever you go with, I'm sure it's going to be a good solution for you. So that's it. Thanks for watching the video. I hoped it helped out some of you. If you guys have any questions about the consoles or any questions about gaming tech in general, you guys can leave a comment down below or join the channel Discord linked down in the description. I and others will hopefully answer all of your questions. I hope all of you have a great day, and hopefully I can see you in the next one. See ya.